Welcome to Love in Life, a guide to a positive mindset. My aim is to show you that the key to a happier and more positive mind is to love the life you have. We will look at tips and tools you can use to improve your mindset, and the best thing is, we'll all be on this journey together. Hey, and welcome to episode 30 of Love in Life. Thanks so much for your patience. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, probably in my last episode actually, or maybe the one before that, and I said that January has been, I found it challenging because obviously I was ill, and then, you know, there was lots of hormones and emotions and pet deaths and things like that. So there was lots of things that were really testing me throughout January. And then to top it off, last week, all week, I was suffering with really bad toothache, and I ended up having to have a tooth removed. So I felt like it was like one final, I thought that was everything done. I thought I was feeling more myself, and it was like my body was having none of it. It was like, no, you still need to rest. So I literally did nothing last week apart from lie in bed, trying to ignore my tooth pain. So yeah, I do feel like that was either my body's way or the universe's way of telling me just to really, really slow down. And it really did knock me out with a bang. So I'm still in a little bit of pain now, so where I'm still recovering. So I don't know how long this episode's going to be, but hopefully I'll be okay. We'll see how it goes. I hope you guys are okay. Has anybody else found this with January as well? It's been a really, really testing time, and I'm just really looking forward to, it's February today. Thank goodness. I am ready to say goodbye to January. I'm really done with it. So I'm starting the magic today, and I think I might have mentioned this in my last podcast. So is anybody joining me? If so, I have set up a Facebook group so as we can sort of all support each other through it. So if you want to join that, head to my usual link and you'll find the link in the link. And yeah, the more the merrier. I just think it's lovely when there's a group of you sharing it, because it's so intense and people don't really know what it entails who aren't doing it. So it's really nice to share experiences with others that are doing it. So I'd love to have you along. I do tend to do it every February. I don't know why. I just happen to. And I think I'm going to carry on doing it each February. So yeah, just to give you a heads up for next year. So my episode this week is all about why nature is so important to our health and how can we connect to our higher self and, source energy using nature. So that's what I'm going to be discussing this week. And the reason why I've chosen to talk about that this week is because the book I'm reading at the moment just really caught my, a particular chapter. It just really caught my imagination, I guess. So in this particular chapter, the author starts off explaining that she's always felt a strong connection with trees. And she goes on to say that when she was hiking recently, obviously not so recently anymore, I guess, but when she was hiking, she had an experience where she sort of had an intuition to go over to a particular tree. It was like it was calling her. And I guess that was where she was really connecting with nature. And she says, I walked over to the tree and sat down at its trunk. I immediately felt a calm come over my entire body and felt extremely alert at the same time. I felt more alive than I had in a long time. It was as if my body was lighting up and awakening from the outside. I sensed that the tree wanted to communicate. Mother Earth wanted a chance to speak. I quite often feel this when, if I go out for a late night walk, I quite often feel that connection with, if it's a clear night and I can see the stars and the moon, I quite often feel that connection. But in order to do that, it has to be a clear night. Obviously, it has to be nighttime. And I just thought, why not explore a little bit more into this? So when I want to feel connected with my higher self or source energy, then I can connect with nature rather than waiting for a clear night and let's be honest, to have the energy to go out for a walk at night or to go and stand out in the garden, because I'll be honest with you, I'm normally in bed by about 8 o'clock at night. So the things I'm going to look at today, first of all, I'm going to talk about why nature is good for us. And I'm going to discuss how we're linked to nature. And then I'm going to look at how we can connect connect to our higher self or our source energy using nature. And obviously anything that comes up along the way. So that's today's episode. So first of all, why is nature good for us? So we all know that trees are vital for us to survive and for nature to survive. We all know that without trees, we'd have a huge climate problem. And we know that because obviously there is so much news about it at the moment. But why are they so important? So trees, as part of their food making process, which we've all heard the word, but we don't all necessarily know what it means, but photosynthesis, which is how they make their food, as it were. Trees absorb carbon dioxide to do this. They absorb carbon dioxide from the air and store it in its wood. In return, as part of the process, it produces oxygen, the air that we breathe. So trees are obviously vital for us to have the correct air to breathe. If we didn't have oxygen, we wouldn't survive. Or we'd all be walking around with oxygen masks on. Not a good look. It's not just trees that filter the air for us and use photosynthesis to soak up carbon dioxide and produce oxygen for us. Plants do this as well. And obviously this goes for all plants. And this includes houseplants. So even if you can't get out in nature, obviously this was the case a few years ago when we couldn't necessarily get out into nature as much, when we were all confined to the indoors. You can bring nature inside with houseplants. And interestingly, houseplants have seen a massive increase since 2021, apparently. So I do wonder if this has got something to do with, with the fact that we had to bring the outdoors in, or if it's just one of those trends that goes round and round. But the amount of houseplants in households since 2021 has increased by something like 65% for, I think that was for millennials. So that's 25 to 40-year-olds. So that is a massive, massive increase. So the benefits of being around plants, research has shown that they can reduce blood pressure, reduce fatigue, and reduce headaches. They obviously, due to their carbon dioxide absorbing, they improve air quality. So many products, obviously, many things that we use around the house contain chemicals. So whether that's cleaning products, paint, even mold obviously has chemicals in it that is harmful to us. And a lot of these chemicals are cancer-causing chemicals. Now, houseplants remove a lot of these harmful chemicals during the process. They don't just absorb carbon dioxide. Like I said, they need other nutrients as well, which are, they're not necessarily ones that we naturally produce. So they remove those harmful chemicals, the chemicals that are harmful to us. And in exchange, they produce oxygen. They cleanse our air. And this obviously works inside and out. Even sea air can improve our health. So sea air contains iodine, salt, magnesium, and all these things encourage respiratory health, and they can reduce symptoms of asthma. Sea air can improve allergies and skin problems, and it can stimulate the immune system. So aside from the obvious mental health benefits that being outside, being around nature, that I've talked about many, many times on this podcast, aside from the mental health benefits that being out in nature can have, it also has physical health benefits for us. So how are we linked to nature? You may recall when I did my episode on the universal laws, I discussed the law of divine oneness, which explains that we are all energy. Everything we look at, everything we touch, whether it's living or not, is energy. We are energy. Everything else is energy. Everything is energy. So that obviously means that everything in nature is also energy. So the trees, the plants, the stream, the sea, the wind, everything is energy. So that makes us connected to nature in that way. Obviously, energy moves, and all energy moves at a certain frequency, well, at different frequencies. And this is what we call vibration. And everything that is made of energy has a frequency, has a vibration. Even sound, which is something that we can't see, produces a vibration. It moves at a vibration. And there have been studies that show that plants respond to sound vibrations. And something that really does interest me is the fact that studies have shown that talking to your plants can help their growth. Now, make of this what you will. You might call me doolally, but we'll see. I don't know. Let's give it a go. So there have been studies to show that plants respond to voices. And so that means their growth is quicker when they can't hear, obviously they haven't got ears, but they can pick up on the vibration that sound emits. And apparently, female voices produce faster results than the male voice in these studies, which followed plant growth. So whether that's down to a higher pitch or tone, they don't know. But for some reason, a female voice produces faster growing results in plants than male voice. And voices in general produce faster results in plant growth than none. And I remember actually hearing about one study where they took 3 different plants, and one of the plants was like spoken to in a loving voice, and like, you know, the person would say things like, I love you, and like really lovely, kind things to the plant. Then there was another plant where a person would, it was showing recordings or whatever, somebody would say like really mean things to the plant, like I hate you, or, you know, you fucking die, whatever. And then there was another plant that wasn't spoken to at all and just looked after in a normal way, so watered and fed. And the 2 plants that were spoken to both showed greater growing results than the one that wasn't spoken to at all. So yeah, I do think there's something in that. And I do think, you know, what's the harm in telling your plants that you love them anyway? I love my plants, and I tell my plants I love them. They're beautiful. Now, you probably do think I'm mad, but I don't care. Actually, that reminds me, I was reading something earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Apparently, 70% of plant parents talk to their plant parents. That's funny. But yeah, apparently 70% of people talk to their plants. So I'm one of them. So you must do it as well. At least 70% of you must do it. So going back to plants responding to vibrations, responding to our voices, that is another way that we're linked with nature. We are one with nature because we all share vibration. We all share the energy that vibrations produce. And when you go out and breathe in that sea air becomes a part of you. It is living inside of you. When we drink water, that has come from nature. When we drink water, and the same goes for eating food as well, that has come from plants, that is inside of you and it becomes you. We are all one. We are all together. We're also linked to nature because we produce gases that are essential to the growth of plants and trees, just as they produce gases that are essential for us to breathe. We both play a vital part in each other's survival. So nature plays a vital part in humanity's survival and vice versa. So nature supports the lifestyles that we have by helping to filter the air that we pollute. But obviously humanity must go careful not to take nature for granted, not to take the job that nature does for granted. So how can we connect to our higher self, or how can we connect to source energy using nature? So we can get friendly with the elements. And I want to add, use all your senses to do this. So getting friendly with the elements, swim in natural water, like swimming in the sea. Like I said, when you breathe in sea air, that sea air becomes you. When you're swimming in natural water, it's absorbed into your body. It becomes you. You are connecting with nature in that way. If you don't want to swim in the water, that's fine. Dip your feet in water. I used to love, I still do actually, going to the beach and just letting the waves wash over your feet, just letting the tide come in over your feet. I used to love that feeling. And then watching it go out again, it kind of feels like it's dragging you out with it, doesn't it? I love that. You could learn about crystals. Obviously, crystals have come from nature because they're made of minerals and things that are extracted from the earth, elements that come from the earth. Learn their powers. Obviously, I have done a very basic crystal episode on this podcast, but there's plenty of information out there. Climbing, so climbing a mountain, or it doesn't have to be a mountain, but like a hill, or hiking out in nature. You know, there's something about when you're stood at the top of a hill or a mountain and just seeing the panoramic views around you, like the natural scenery. There's just something about it. You kind of feel that you're lifted up and you're looking down on everything and you're part of it all. It sounds so corny and cheesy, doesn't it, when you're saying it or when you're hearing it? But actually, if you think about a time when you've done that, it really does feel like it. And actually, when we went hiking, Craig and I went hiking with his work friends back in October, I think it was. And the clouds really came in and we were above the clouds. And there's just something really surreal about that. But it is breathtaking and it just makes you feel like you're within it rather than looking at it, if that makes sense. Really use your ears to connect with nature. So listening to birds' natural song, like what sound is better than that? Listening to the wind, the sound that the trees make when the wind is rustling through the leaves, or even feel the wind, like feel the wind hitting your face, feel the wind blowing you and feel connected with it. And hear the sound of the waves at the coast, when you're at the seaside, when you're at the beach. Listen, drown out all the other noise that's going on around you and listen to the power of nature. And when you're doing all these things that I've listed, in order to connect with nature, you have to drown out everything else around you and you have to take a moment to pause. So, you know, when you're out walking, don't have your earphones in or don't be flicking through your phone or, you know, really breathe through your belly, if that makes sense. And, you know, really soak up everything around you and try and pick up on messages that are trying to be sent to you. Like that is how we connect to our spiritual higher self, is by listening out, looking out for messages and signs all the time. Not all the time, that's impossible, but whenever we can, whenever we're in these moments, situations, take a minute to pause, just be present, be now, and focus on what your intuition is telling you. Much like, going back earlier on when I was reading out the chapter that really interested me, like the author that felt an intuition from one particular tree. She was being called to go over to and connect with one particular tree. Another way we can connect to our higher selves, source energy, Mother Nature, whatever you want to connect to, get grounded. So stand with your feet on the ground, like on the natural ground. So on the grass, on the soil, on the sand, or even like if you're doing yoga out in nature, or even if you sat down on the grass. Imagine the parts of you that are touching the ground, and imagine the parts of you that are touching the ground are extending and rooting into the ground. And visualize this happening. Visualize roots being rooted, being grounded into the earth, and connect with the earth that way. If you're not one for visualization, then you'll probably think I'm loopy there, but I'm really good at visualizing things. And I do find that if you're able to visualize that, then you kind of believe that's what's happening. But I do get that visualizing isn't for everyone. Another way we can use nature to connect with our higher self, and bear with me with this one, it's going to sound a bit crazy, but connect with a tree. Like much like the author in the book I'm reading did, I watched a YouTube video yesterday, and a lady showed how she exchanged energy with trees. And I'm not talking like tree hugging, trees have feelings and all that, because they don't. What I'm talking about is like trees they're a living thing. So of course they have energy. They have energy to share with us. We have energy to share with them. And I'm going to post a link to the YouTube video that I watched in my show notes, because actually it's not something I've tried. I'm going to post it in there just in case it's something that you want to try. Obviously, another way we can really connect to our higher self using nature is by bringing the outside in, like I said, with houseplants, and really setting an intention to build a relationship, like understand your houseplants, that they are a living being and that you need to look after it just as it's looking after you. And just to finish off, I always used to be terrible at looking after houseplants. In my old house, like I bought a nice big, like an indoor palm, and I just didn't look after it. I didn't know how to look after it. I didn't really bother to research. I just thought I knew how to look after a plant, and I didn't. But in the last 6 months or so, I've invested in some really beautiful houseplants, and I have really made an effort to learn how to look after them. And I actually bought some like baby plants from a local lady recently, only the other day, and I was asking her advice, like just to check that I was doing the right things with my plants. And we had the conversation about talking to your plants and all that, and she does it as well. But she gave me some lovely advice on how to look after my plants in ways that I hadn't even thought about, actually. Like she said to make sure that you don't let them get dusty, like on the surface of the leaf, because that is where they absorb all the energy that they need. So you really need to make sure that they can breathe. So yesterday I went round and did that with every single one of my houseplants, like on every single leaf. I wiped it down with a wet bit of tissue, and oh God, like I thought I was looking after them, and they are growing really nicely, but it just made me realise actually there's that extra little bit that I can do to look after them. So there's me going on about my houseplants now. But yeah, I'm going to post some pictures on Instagram, actually. I'm really proud of my houseplants. I'm really proud of the fact that finally I feel like I know what I'm doing with them, because I know the benefits of having plants around the house, and I want to make sure that every room in my house has a really lovely, natural and healthy environment. So there we go. I hope you feel a little bit more inspired to connect with nature as I do, and because I think it's important that we all learn different ways that we can speak to our higher self and receive intuitive messages, because that's what, connecting with the universe, connecting with nature, it all does that. It sends you intuitive messages, and that is what connecting with your higher self is. It shows you how to move forward, how to heal all the things that we all need healing. Whatever kind of life you've had, we all have things that we need to heal. So I hope I've inspired you to look a little bit more into that. If you do feel like delving a little bit deeper, then as I said, I'll post the link to the book I was reading and the YouTube video which shows you how to, it's basically a meditation around a tree to absorb the energy. I'll post that in the show notes, so take a look. And if you feel like giving the magic a go this month, then head over to my link and you can join me and others who are doing it, and let's see what comes up for us. But I'm going to leave it there today. My mouth is starting to get very achy now. I don't think I said, but where my tooth has been taken out, I've now got a gap for my wisdom tooth to grow through. So that is what is happening. It's literally growing through straight away. So I'm now teething as well, but at least it's not in pain like it was last week. So I hope everyone has an amazing first week of February. I am definitely noticing the change in the energy already. I'm ready for the change. I'm ready to have had my rest, and I'm ready to bring on the next step. As always, I'm available for messages and feedback and questions either through Instagram or the link. But thanks as always for listening, and I shall speak to you next week. Bye.